And so the first Sheilah is Ashgacha Protis, because I come to the share at Tuesday night, and someone right away picks up a phone and shows everyone the gadlus of the president who came to visit a group of Balabatim who were willing to pay
$100 per ticket.
Yeah.
No, 25.
You can bring 4 guests, but you have to. It's a bundle.
Yeah.
Those are Moitzi.
Yeah, it's a Moitzi. So the Gemara says a story about Ibzeda. That Ibzeda said. The Gemara says if you semach gula l'tfila, you're safe the whole day. He said I was semach gula l'tfila, and they captured me and they made me cut flowers for the king. So they said, what are you talking about? You should sing from joy. It's a mitzvah, Lord, it's l'kas malachim. It's a mitzvah to go see the king. Why? Shim yitzke yavchin ben kvoidam l'kvoidish hamalach HaMashiach. That if you're zoiche, mitzvah Shem Mashiach will come, and you'll see the cover that Mashiach gets. How will you know how great it is? You never saw what a regular king gets. So when it's a mitzvah to be mevatel Torah even, to go see the cover of a melech. So it would be kedai to pay money to see the king. And you got it free of charge. So what are you complaining about, Zok the Gemara? So, okay. But I don't know what the shear of how much it's kedai to pay. If 100,000 is Bechlal. Maybe...
What if the president has the power to kill people, but he doesn't because he's a wimp?
So let's read about it. Let's go into the thing.
You're also into shooting the Mexicans trying to jump the wall.
Zok the Gemara. Yeah, we just started.
We started?
Yeah, we just started. Since the food just came, if anyone wants to take a break, there's go wash, make a moitzi.
I'm missing one spoon. There's another big spoon over there, under that tray.
Zog the Gemara, Aroya Malchi Yisrael, Omer, if you see a king, you say a bracha. Aroya Malchi Eved Kechavim Omer. There's a different bracha. If you see a Jewish king, you say HaKolach.
Is this the right one? Oh, see.
Yeah.
Oh, the second.
Shuva. Isa beGemara brachas dafnum chesam dal.
If the president was Jewish, you make a different bracha?
Yeah, if the president is Jewish, it's a different bracha. You're already assuming that there's a bracha on a president, but if there's a bracha on
what was the shot we had exactly?
if you see the president of the United States, you make a bracha.
Oh yes, all right.
So the Gemara says, "Aroy Malchi Yisrael," the person that sees a Jewish king, Omer, he makes a bracha. The bracha is Asher Nosan Mikvoide Li'Reiv Malcho VeKachavim Omer Asher Nosan Mikvoide Labasav Adam. Omer Rabbi Yochanan Lo Elam Yishtad Lo Elam Oru. It's a person should try to run to see a king. Afilu Lichkas Malcho Ovi Kachavim, even a Goyish king. Shemizke, if he's Zoiche Yavchin, he'll say the difference and the glory and the Geval of Bei Malchi Yisrael Malcho Ovi Kachavim. Moshe, here. And then there's a story about Ibshila. I want to tell you about the story. There's 2 stories. The story of Sheilos, who was blind. He went to see the king, and the Alter Rebbe learns halacha from this. Even a blind man can make the bracha when he's there by the parade of a king. And there was a tzduki that came, and he was laughing at him. He said, "You're blind, so what are you going?" So he said, "I'm going to show you. I know better than you." So there was a parade. There were singing and banging, and he said, "Oh, the king is coming." He said, "No, the king is not coming." And then again, there was another group of soldiers that were singing. They said, "The king is coming." He said, "No, the king is not coming." A third group, they said, "The king is coming." He said, "The king is not coming." And then it was quiet. He said, "Oh, now the king is coming," and he made the bracha. So the tzduki asked him, "How do you know?" So he said, "Because Malchusa da'arek and Malchusa da'rekia." He says, just like in heaven it says, "Loi berash," "Loi berash Hashem," "Kim b'koil d'mom adaka." The same thing in this world. So I knew. Anyway, the Gemara says that tzduki, because he bothered the Sheilos, his friends decided to poke out his eyes. Okay. Then there was a story about Ibshila. Again, these stories l'chayda are not relevant, but you'll see soon how they're relevant. Rabbi Shila saw that it was found that there was a yid that slept with a shiksa. Baal mitzvah, so he went with his bezdin and he gave him malchus. This guy was angry. What do you do when you're angry in a rov? It's not from today or yesterday. He went and informed the government that the bezdin did something that was that was against the law. It was not in the law. It's against the law. Oh, so the Sheilos was summoned to court, and they asked him, "Is it true that you, without permission, you went and you set up your own court?" So he said, "Yes, it's true. This man slept with a donkey." They said, "What? He slept with a donkey?" He said, "Yeah." They said, "Prove it." They said, "Prove it."
Shiksa donkey.
Exactly. They said, "Prove it." Yeah, you're good. You'll see soon. They said, "Prove it." All of a sudden, Leonov, he comes in, and he says, "Witness that he saw it." And they said, "What?" They couldn't believe it. Such a disgusting thing. They said, we have to think about what to do with this guy. They turned to Reb Shila and they said, "How come you didn't kill him? How come you didn't kill him?" So he said, because from when there was a Churban Beis HaMikdash, we don't have any more the power to kill. Because, but you can do whatever you want. So they said that we're going to have to think about it. Reb Shila said, "L'cha Hashem ha'gedula v'ha'gevura v'ha'tiferes v'ha'netzach." He was thanking Hashem. They saved his life. So they said, "What are you saying? What are you saying?" He said, "I'm saying to the Eibishter, Brich Rachmona, that you gave Malchus into this world, Ke'en Malchus Aderekia, and he gave you the Shilton and Rachamim and Din." They said, "Wow, you respect the government to this extent?" They gave him a kulfa, this big stick that the judge has, and they said, "Dum dina, you could set up your own bezdin. If you respect the government so much, no problem. You set up your own court." When he walked out of the court, he met that guy. So the guy said, "Wow, Ovid Rachmona Nisil Shakni. The Eibishter makes Nisim for liars." So he said, "It's not a lie. It says about Goyim, Besar Chamoidim Besorim." That's talking about the Mitzrayim. Besar Chamoidim Besorim. So you slept with a Chamoid. So the guy said, "Oh yeah?" He started walking into the court. So the Shila said, "Oh, whoa. This guy is a Roidif. This guy is going to tell them, and I'm in trouble." So he picked up his kulfa and he gave the guy one big knock on his head, and the guy died. This guy is going to kill him. He's going to get killed. So he took his kulfa and he killed this guy. He started darshing in the posuk l'cha Hashem ha'gdula v'ha'gvura. As you'll see soon, this is relevant to the Shaila. So the bottom line is that the Shulchan Aruch's paskin, the Semeresh Chavdalet Tzivches, that when you see a king, if he's a Jewish king, you make Baruch Hashem Elokeinu Machalom, Asher Nosa Mikvoidav Liyareyav, Asher Cholak Mikvoidav Liyareyav, and if he is a Melech, a Goy, you say Asher Nosa Mikvoidav Lebasar Vadam. There's a whole shaklavataria if he's a king, a Jewish king, but Zarosha. You can't see a reif. Some say you don't make the bracha. Some you say the bracha. You say the adam. Right. Yeah. But a guy, it doesn't matter if he's a rosh or not. It's always the bracha is the same. Asher nosan michvoidei lebasar v'dam. Sagt the Magen Avraham. Bald ist der Herr.
Why do we take some?
Okay. You want to get my pilpul first? Or you want to do it? So sagt the Magen Avraham. Hashultoinim she'ein oil melech aleim, that the governors that don't have the yoke of the king on them, l'shanas devreim, to change their rules, v'dom v'horig b'mishpat, and they judge and they kill through the mishpat. Mevorech aleim, you make a bracha on them. V'lasorim shemaman hamelach b'chol ir, and there are sorim that the king appoints in every city. So toiv v'yosher levorach b'lo malchus, you should make a bracha without shem malchus. And the big shofet, which is a kadi, you don't make any brach. So the Magen Avraham is very bekitzer. It really comes from the Tshuvas at Advaz. That Advaz lived about 400 years ago in Egypt. His question was that at that time there was the Ottoman Empire, and the Sultan would send in every country. Like in Egypt, he sent a pacha, that was called a pecha or a pasha. So there was the pasha, but he was appointed by, the king would appoint a kadi, which was a chief judge to every country, and the sultan would also appoint a
Governor?
pasha or a pecha, that he would,
The governor.
the governor. Now he had biyodo. So if the shofet says that someone should be killed, he is the head of the government. He kills, and he also could kill azay stam azay. He can also kill the service oil al ruchay. Elamai, if he decides to kill someone and he didn't get a chance to kill him yet, and a letter will come from Turkey from the sultan to say don't kill him, he's powerless. He's powerless. He's powerless. So that was the shaila that advise. If you see the pecha, the pasha of Egypt, you make the bracha or you don't make the bracha. He brings from Rabbi Avram Abez in the Sefer Eshkel, that said you only make the bracha on a king that could kill. And he says, so therefore, this pecha, even though he could kill, and he kills people, Yom V'Layla, but because it could be overturned by the sultan, so it's a sofik bracha, you should make it below Shem U'Malchus.
Was that right? But this bracha was made
That's what he's talking about.
That's
what he's discussing.
He's talking about right now.
Right.
But the president could do the same thing. He could at that power. He can override.
He's a small daddy.
So the Alter Rebbe brings this halacha. The Alter Rebbe doesn't say any conditions. The Alter Rebbe says, "Aroya malchi u'mas oilam tzarich levorach shenosa mekvoide lebos Adam mitzvah lishtadel liris melech." The bracha is every 30 days, and if you see a different king, even the same day you make again the bracha. The Rebbe, unbelievable thing. There's a Sefer Bat Kodesh, which the Mittel Rebbe wrote when he was arrested, and he explains al pi Kabbalah the inyan of Malchus. And he says to the governor of Vitebsk, Chayei, at that time Russia had 10 regions, and everyone, the king appointed a governor to each one. He said that because even on you there's a brocha, Ashanosa Mekvoidoi, Labosa Vadom, and you should be on top of my case and not to give it over to the regular court. That's what that was his last plea. And in this Kuntas he explains Al Pi Kabbalah how the Svidus worked. For example, here you see the picture. This is a picture made by the Mittel Rebbe. And this thing was translated into Russian, the Sefer Bat Kodesh. Originally it was thought that the Alter Rebbe wrote it to the Russian Senate. The Rebbe says, no, it's not true. The Mittel Rebbe wrote it to the governor of Vitebsk. The Rebbe at the end published this. The Rebbe at the end brings Tikkun Tos, and there's a big list. At the end there's just one interesting order from the Rebbe. What are the odds that I would find this? But I was reading Bat Kodesh, so I see the Rebbe says that the Alter Rebbe here doesn't bring that on a governor that has the koyach to kill, but someone else is on top of him to tell him yes or no, that you make the bracha below Shem Malchus. Probably the Alter Rebbe holds that you don't make the bracha on such a person. It has to be not only has the koyach to kill, but there's no one on top of him. Ein al gabav el Hashem alakov, and he has. Okay, that's what the Rebbe says. Now let's get to the shaila of a president.
It says has the courage to kill without due process.
Well, with due process.
Due process
he's a
also
thug.
the bracha.
Without due process, he's a thug. He's a mafia.
He's just that's
a thug.
absolute power. Then that's a melech.
He's a thug. No,
It has to be a melech with due process.
Thug, you know, make a bracha on a king and a thug.
Yeah, he could be a thug too. He could be a Rosh Hashanah. Are you saying just because someone can kill doesn't make him a melech?
What if he's a melech and he can
Hey, a
kill?
melech can kill.
Without due process.
It doesn't make a difference. Yeah, due process, not due
What they used
process.
to do is they used to put the person in the river. If he would drown, then he gets saved. If he comes up, then they kill him. I saw my dream.
It's like a rich, right? He's a thug
If he drowns, that means he's
Either way, he's dead.
innocent. If he drowns, they take him out. They're so happy. Promise you can see how the people are
So
rejoicing.
either way,
Like magic.
But either way, he's dead. Either way, he's dead.
No, he's not dead.
Magic for
No,
sure.
they pull him out. They pull him out if they see he's drowning. And they say, and they're so happy.
And then why they kill him? Why they drown him again?
Okay. What's the din by a president?
My question is, was Jakey saying it's the president or it's Shiner told me it's who's his president?
We're not talking about today's president. Let's talk about the President Obama. Okay?
Oh, he's very
Because the same thing that would apply to this president, if the same thing would apply, would have
Came
to.
by Crown Heights.
Doesn't matter. I'm talking about President Obama right now.
Obama came by Crown Heights.
Okay, so now's the Shaila. So
Drove up Kingston Avenue.
there is a beautiful sefer, the Chazon Avadia on Brochus, and basically all the Pashtus, the way it's brought in Shulchan Aruch is they only make b'shem Balchus someone that has the koyach to kill. So there's a beautiful tshuva here from Rabbi Avadia Yosef, and he brings here that he thinks that on a president you could make a bracha. Why? He says he brings Sheilos tshuvas from poskim, contemporary poskim, like for example he brings from Rav Wosner. He asks Rav Wosner asked if you would make a bracha on the Queen of England. And he says, definitely yes. The Queen of England, can't kill. So he says, when was the Shaila? The Shaila wasn't on the Sultan. The Sultan makes no difference if he could kill or he can't kill. On the Parsha was the Shaila. It's not a Siba. The Siba of the bracha is not if you can kill. It's a Siman. It's not a Siba. It's a Siman. If he's the Sultan, you can make a bracha. I don't care if he can kill or can't kill. But if he's not the Sultan, he's the Pasha. So the Shaila is he a be'emes a king or not? The Siman is, if he can kill as a raya, he is a king. But the Queen of England, she's a queen anyway. Be'emes is, it comes down to a simple Shaila, a simple chakira. Why do we make the bracha? Because of the COVID? Because of the COVID? Or is it because of the mishpat? Reb Chaim Palaji writes in the tshuva that if the king, and Vad Yosef brings it here, if a king is dressed with regular levushim, not with big day malchus, you don't make the brachas. That's Reb Chaim Palaji. And Reb Chaim says why? Because it has to be. You have to see the koved of the malchus. And Rabbi Yosef argues on him. He says, "What's negeya? As long as he's a king." But Lamaisa, Rabbi Yosef paskins like him. He says that has to be that he's dressed with big demalchus.
Was that Rabbi Saleh? 2 years ago, last year was a shliach in France. He was her film stand. He met the king of Morocco.
Right, and he was dressed with regular clothing. So l'chayr you don't make the bracha. That's what the Reb Chaim Palaji paskins.
Besides, the Melech of Morocco is he's no powerful guy.
Right, so this is the chelik of the Shaila.
Running away from the Islamists.
This is all a chelik of the Shaila. So, bottom line is, it seems that the poskim today have a machloikis. Some hold that he has to be a melech and have a lot of kovid. And even if he can't kill, another hold, no. And Pashtus, why would he have to be killed? Well, what's negay that he could kill? Because this is the Alter Rebbe, we learned this after this week. The Alter Rebbe asks, why is it in the Shiva Shiftenu we say that the Eibush is melech oiv tzedakah mishpat? Is melech roife cholim, is melech mater asurim, is melech bevarach hashanim. So the Alter Rebbe answers from Rabbi Yechiel, the brother of the Tur, that's brought in the Tur, because the pasuk says melech b'mishpat yamid eretz. That the mishpat is a special inyan for malucha, and this is what the Mittel Rebbe writes in Bad Kodesh, that there are just 70 sorim l'mayla, and l'mata there is a melech, a king. The Eibush that gives him the koyach, a special siyaita the shmaya, to able to do mishpat. Just like the Eibush, we know that in Bezdin, the Eibush gives them a special siyaita the shmaya, and that's a dova poshet. The same thing, lahav the lelef of dollars, the Eibush that gives a koyach of malchus to even goyim to mishpat. So, bottom line is, it seems to be that the shaila is, what's the bracha? Is it mitzad the kovid or the malchus, or mitzad the fact that they have the koyach mishpat to kill? Now, this is really what Rav Wosner was talking about. And the emphasis is that there's another Sheilos Tshuva sefer.
Why can't it be both? Why can't it be both?
It could be both, but then you would need to have both things, and
because if it's a question of ritzicha, then even a little 2x2 melech is powerful. You would be pachet, you would be afraid of him, like the melech of Puerto Rico. He's got a small little island, but he's powerful because he can kill you, so you're afraid. But if it's for COVID, who cares about the melech of Puerto Rico or Timbuktu? So that's nothing. But you need a combination, because where are you going to say which country the melech is mechubed and where it's not? The melech of Timbuktu is a nobody. The melech of Germany is a big melech.
Right. But by Pashtus, without the poskim of today, if you look at the Mogan Avram, especially if you look at the Rabbi Avram Av Bezdin, they said that they have to have the koyach to kill. So if he's the king of United Arab Emirates,
Yes.
you make the bracha.
Right.
King of
Or-
Saudi Arabia, or it could be a tiny island.
Yeah, Marshall Islands.
Yeah, but if he's a melech, and he has biyod elomis, you make a bracha.
Right.
And the other hand, it could be the prime minister.
of Soviet Union. Of Soviet Union.
Of Soviet Union, I wouldn't say, but he could be the prime minister of Israel. It could be president of the United States, and he doesn't have the koyach to kill.
How about Putin? He has the koyach to kill, but he's not officially a melech.
That's a good shaila. That's a good shaila. It has to be done v'hoirik b'mishpat. Has to be done v'hoirik b'mishpat. That he has that. The thing is like this.
Manipulate the course, he's right.
But it has to be b'mishpat.
You said that even if he
Done
doesn't,
by
he has goon squads that kill people.
So here is this is the shaila. If he could, so Rabbi Vadia Yosef says that he's the only one that says it. By the way, even though he brings, even though the other poskim today that hold that on a ceremonial killing you can make a bracha, but number one, it's not mashma that way in the earlier poskim. But number two, it's only about a king. But Rabbi Vadia Yosef says befedish on a president you can make a bracha. Why? He says number one, he could declare war. And number two, he could commute a death sentence. Okay? That a governor in Kentucky could also commute a death sentence. And if that's the reason, for the same logic that you can make a bracha on the president, you can make a bracha on the governor. And declaring war, Hezbollah could also declare war, and ICE could also declare war. So, listen, but Rabbi Vadia has the right to hold this way. But Rabbi Vadia holds this way and is a yichidoah. Now, the Vadia is a yichidoah. I just want to tell you my thoughts. Versteht sich, if someone wants to follow this psak, welcome to follow. This is what the Rabbi Vadia Yosef holds. But people that don't come from the West, they might be malumed and they know that there's separation of power and the Constitution says that the president has a different and the koyach hamishpat is totally two different institutions and one has no right to infringe on the other.
Yeah, and they knock him down all the time in the courts.
Right, but someone that comes from a country like Iran or Iraq or someone that comes from Turkey, could be a Godel B'Yisrael, might not chap the separation of powers that really is enshrined in the Constitution. In Western countries, especially in the United States of America, there is the president and the mishpat are two different institutions. He has no right. If he makes a silly little phone call to President Zelensky and says, "Emes v'nochen adover." What do you think this guy is getting $50,000 a year to be on some board of some energy company in Ukraine? What we need a yo-yo.
He's a yo-yo. We need a yo-yo to be on the court.
We need some investigation to know. So now all of a sudden he's on the hot seat. He's on the president of the United States is on the hot seat to be impeached because he made a phone call that a barber Rav Dechad Yoyim doesn't need an investigation to know that Hunter Biden is being bribed not to get to influence his father.
That's because they hate him.
So now you're going to tell me that this guy has a din of a melech that's done v'hoirik b'mishpat. He made a silly phone call to this guy Zelensky about something which is true, and he's sitting on the hot seat in the United States.
Yeah, but he could go make a phone call, and in an hour he could bomb 100,000 people.
But that's not hoirik b'mishpat. That's through milchama. That's not b'mishpat.
He has the power to do war. He has the power to wage war.
Rabbi Yosef says that, but then the poskim to say don v'hoirik b'mishpat.
It seems very obvious that in order to have a din of a melech, besides the fact that he should be able to kill you or not, he has to be regarded as a melech too by his subjects. A guy like Khomeini, could kill you b'mishpat over there, but no one looks at him as a king. To make a melech on a person,
that's called
no one even calls the guy a king, even if he's a leader and even if he's a supreme leader. It doesn't sound like them. That's a chashalak mikvei.
Yeah, because he's wearing pajamas all day.
No, there's a difference between a melech and a
A person who acts like a the basic premise for such a bracha will definitely be he's regarded as a melech.
And also not changed every 4 years.
Right.
And he doesn't change the pajamas either.
I'm sure
The killing only works once he's called a king. I'm telling you, it shouldn't be a king who doesn't have control of death. It should be a king who has control of it. But if it's not a king, well, you can be a president, leader. The chuddah just doesn't apply to the regular candidate of the melech.
But if someone made the bracha, Rabbi Vadia Yosef says that he thinks. Yeah, but the
Is there a difference
Pashtus,
between a dictator
Rabbi
and a king?
Avromov Bezin says it has to be done v'horig b'mishpat. He doesn't say a difference if it's the Sultan or not. The Radvaz,
I'm saying all these sisters have one season.
and the Radvaz says it has to be done v'horig b'mishpat. The Pashtus, they hold Elamai. The war poskim that felt that the ceremonial kings in Europe are still have a din of a king. But to say that even a president who is elected every 4 years is a far shot, I don't. But Rabbi Vadia Yosef holds that way. So help the Eibishter that my brother just called me because we were talking about it this week. He says last night there was a radio program and Taka, the person who made the bracha, said that he relied on Rabbi Vadia. If he relies, no, the other two are the ones that are talking about the Queen of England. That doesn't count. The other two.
But he quoted them.
He quoted them, but they're talking about the Queen of England.
Who is the Relbaz?
So,
Who is the Relbaz?
the Advazer David ben Zimra. He was Godel Ador. Yeah, he was in Egypt 400 years ago. The Advaz.
He knows more about
David ben Zimra.
That's why I'm asking.
No, Egypt.
But we had many Bezimrat. No.
Yeah, but he was. I'll call upon him. Another interesting question that was asked by Zev Brenner is if the person that made the bracha would be Hanukkah in the White House, if he would make the bracha. So he says he thinks that the bracha is only once in a lifetime, but that's not true. The bracha is every 30 days.
Yeah, but then he also asked him, how about if he wins re-election?
You listen to
I'm just telling you that if you happen to see a king, so it's not once in a lifetime. The Alter Rebbe Befedish says in every 30 days. Every 30 days. I don't have to call him.
No, he might come Hanukkah, he's not going to know.
You'll call him. If he had by Chazoras Hashatz,
send him the shear on tape.
if by Chazoras Hashatz he happens to look at the back of the Siddur, it's at the end of Perek Yud Gimel, the Alter Rebbe writes that some things is only once in a lifetime, but a melech is every 30 days, and every 30 days means 4 weeks later from a Sunday to a Tuesday. So that's what the Alter Rebbe writes in Seder B'Chasanen and Perek Yud Gimel at the end. It's Halacha Yud Gimel, I think. Okay, so that's the bottom line. So bottom line is that according to most poskim, it has to be done v'horig b'mishpat, and the reason I told you before the story of Reb Shila is that's what's mashma in the Gemara Bemis. That's the hemshech Gemara is that the Gemara tells the story of Reb Shila. What's the whole story of Reb Shila connected to this bracha of Asher Cholak or Asher Nasa Mechvayde Levasav Adam? Because perhaps the Gemara is meramas, and maybe that's the way that Advaz learned it, and the Rabbi Avromov Bezin learned it. That's what Reb Shila said, that the Gadlus of the Malchus is that they are done v'horig b'mishpat. Okay. But anyway, if someone wants to make a bracha on the United States President and follow Rebbe Vadia, then bruchim to you. And not only that, he can make the bracha every 30 days. Not only that, he can make the bracha also on the president like Obama. And not only that, he probably can make it on every governor.
Listen, Rabbi Marsov, a word, because afterwards Trump said he likes him.
Oh, yeah?
Trump said he likes him. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I like that guy. I like that guy.
Is that good? No.
Trump said he likes
Okay,
But what if your job is on the line? Can you do it?
Huh?
What if your job is on the line?
His boss is there.
Well, there, let me see, but if the state has
I don't hold that you should make a bracha, but yeah, then it would be dependent. If they don't have the capital punishment, he can commute it, and they're not. It would go state by state. So on Cuomo, not, but some governor in Kentucky, yes. Okay. It depends. It reflects the shaila. It depends. If your job depended on it, would you eat rice on the Pesach or not?
I mean, it was on the schedule, you know.
No, you could eat rice.
There was someone else that was supposed to say it, but he wasn't there.
The whole day.
He could have made it like he forgot. Because he asked the president, he says, can I
No,
still
it was
say
prepared. He said that he was pre-said that he could make the bracha.
Yeah, but someone
You know
else
what happened? He was
to
supposed to give a speech, and the president came in too early. He couldn't give the speech.
When you break it in Mishpat, he can be a tyrant, or he can be tzedek Mishpat.
Yeah, it could be, but a tyrant, but it has to be. If he could be a tyrant, but it has to be equitable. It has to be that his rule is anyone that takes a candy in the candy shop, his hands are chopped off. He's a king.
It has to be written in stone.
Yeah, but it can't be that just the Jews
His
have
discretion.
right. It has to be. There's a rule. You can have crazy rules, but it has to be across the board. Okay, next. Lushi Vasi Uguis. I'm sorry that it's a little bit of a Shveda Sugya, but listen.
I think this is the marker of the name Lucy.
I want to listen in prayer carefully.
The sin turns into a shen. What's the, second shaila? Lushi Vasi Uguis. What's the bracha on pasta, ravioli, lasagna, lokshen kugel? So there's a shayna word from Rav Eliyashiv, Zechrona Levrocha. He said, "Bedaitoi, why do they serve lokshen kugel by a kiddush? Why do they make kiddushim and serve lokshen kugel?" So she didn't. Yeah, no. Rav Eliyashiv has a lot of this. Why they serve lokshen kugel on Shabbos?
From Lokum Suda, no?
No. He could have a cracker for Lokan Suda.
Switch up.
So, no. He has a vlomdus. Rav Eliyashiv said, because any cake that you eat, if you're going to eat more than the sheet of Kviyas Suda, then you're chayiv to make hamoitzi and bechaz hamozon, and it's very hard to be careful. You eat one piece of cake, another piece of cake, another piece of cake.
Can't control yourself.
Rav Eliyashiv was never in America. And so he didn't want to be very nizir, because he can end up eating one extra piece of cake, and you're chayiv not to make bechaz hamozon. So the Yidden were mischakim, and they decided to serve lokshen kugel, because lokshen kugel is always, it doesn't matter how much you eat, is always going to be mezainis. Oh, but gesagt Rav Eliyashiv that's only a lokshen kugel that's fried in a pan. But if it's made in the oven, you have to be careful. Okay, so I'm just telling you a agdoma to my shaila here.
Rabbi Schuster in California, when he speaks about this, he says that everybody's making a mistake, because according to Al-Tadebe, you have to wash them big zidus.
To wash and what?
Right.
Big ziti.
That's Kadei Suda. And he's a big make so anyway.
Yes.
What that makes
Nego and everything.
That's
Lasagna, you gotta wash it.
cheese and what?
Cheese and noodle.
Noodle. That's ziti. Oh, I see.
Ziti. It's an Italian word.
Ziti. I don't know.
By the way, so
I don't know what it's made from.
Okay. So, the emes is that there's a very strong point here, but I want to go through the sugya and try to do it quickly. So, I just first make a tikkun toas. Yes, last week I said, according to Mishnah Brura, you're allowed to eat as many donuts as you want, the Chanukah jelly donut. I looked again at Mishnah Brura. I made a mistake. Not only that, according to the Mishnah Brura, even one donut, if you're Yiddish Shamayim, you're only going to eat it in a Suda. So, I don't want to go into the shitta of the Mishnah Brura. I would like to go into the sugya of the Alter Rebbe, because it's complicated enough. I just want to deal with the shitta of the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe will read the Shulchan Aruch, and he changed his mind in the Siddur. Even in the Shulchan Aruch, he's very makel, because according to the Shulchan Aruch, the regular Shulchan Aruch, the Mishnah Brura, there's a machloikes if the bracha of mezainis and amoitzi is chayiv, it dependent on chiyuv chala. One opinion is machmir, says whenever you're chayiv b'chala, you're chayiv to make amoitzi. And the other opinion says no, there's no connection, has to be baked in the oven. The Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch holds only if the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch paskins only if it's baked in an oven. You're going to make the bracha of amoitzi. Let's read it inside.
I think that would normally is mezainis, right?
Right. Avol mina yisashin is bashlu begdeira. The Alter Rebbe says, if there anything that's cooked in a kededa, kemoy vrimzlich, shekoyim ba'atzeinu lokshen v'chin kreplach. If it's vrimzlich, which is called lokshen and kreplach, which is kreplach, you know what kreplach are, but ravioli, dumplings, yeah?
Yeah, dumplings.
But kreplach and kreplach. I'm just saying, kreplach is not only kreplach. Kreplach can be ravioli, dumplings, v'chulu. B'mokim she'ein oifen oisen klal b'mach v'shesh b'mashke el mavashlam tchil v'akach mitagnen oisen. Ein aleim toya. This word toya, I forgot to underline it. Toya lechem klal. Ein aleim toya lechem klal. Ve'ein la'achem b'mem klal shaloi la'achlam b'la moitze b'chzamazim. Afila b'kviyas sud. Afila m'chatichas gedoyla shesh b'chol achas kedayis v'yoyse. The Alter Rebbe says, anything that's deep fried or deep cooked, if there is a lot of liquid in the pot, it's deep fried or deep cooked, there's a lot of water or a lot of oil, so that goes under the category, there's no toyar lechem, it doesn't look like lechem, and therefore it is mezainis. It doesn't matter how much you eat. It doesn't matter, you can eat on asof and on abreg, it's always going to be mezainis. The shortish of this is in the Tosfos because the Rabbeinu Tam is machmer. The Rabbeinu Tam says that any dough that you have to chayiv b'chala, you have to make a moitzi, and the Rabbeinu Tam says, but lokshin is mezoinus. Why did the Rabbeinu Tam say that lokshin is mezoinus? Why? Said, see, it's not clear why. He said b'pashas because it doesn't look like lechem.
It doesn't taste like lechem either.
It doesn't look like lechem. It doesn't taste lechem. But there's a machloikus. Why? There's a machloikus a poiskim in the Shulchan Aruch. That I'm on the Magen Avraham.
And it doesn't have a surah pas. It doesn't have a surah pas that tastes like pas.
The biggest mistake that people make, they think Kviyas Suda means if you sit down with a napkin.
I know.
Kviyas Suda is a shear.
Shear, 8 kibetzin. But I'm saying, but naniach that even
4 kibetzin.
But possible kibbtzin is 8 kibetzin, right?
No, 4. 4 or 6.
Did anyone say it was?
No, I never said 8.
4 to 6.
4
okay.
to 6.
Okay, fine. But I'm saying, if it doesn't have what does the lokshin have in it? There's a shtickle eggs. Most pasta.
Oh, egg! I'm not talking about egg noodles.
No,
Forget the egg noodles.
Most pasta has oil and eggs in it. It's like a.
Even if it's oil and eggs, so if you eat more than the amount of Kviyas Suda, then you would have to.
Right.
You would have to. We're trying to get to the point that you can eat as much as you want and not have any daigas. Like even cake.
If you have 4 kibbtzim.
Right, but if it's by lokshin the Benatam it says you can eat as much as you want and always make mazonos.
But how's lokshin?
Why? Because because pasal b'kisnin is pas. Alomai it's pasal b'kisnin.
This is not pasal.
No, it's not pas at all. Because it doesn't have toya lech.
So then why would have a hammer to make a mitzvah? It's even more makel than pasal b'kisnin.
Oh, the Havamin is because here the Rabbeinu Tam holds any dough that's a dough that you could knead with your fingers, then comes a moitzi. The only way it becomes oisa moitzi is if you cooked it in water or fried it in oil.
Okay, but in those days, they made their own pasta. They didn't come in elbow boxes.
Right.
So maybe today it's totally different because it's no longer an issue.
Oh, so this is, we'll touch on it in a second. There's a machloikis hapoiskim, the Ramah and the Magen Avraham. Most poiskim hold that what Rabbeinu Tam meant, he meant because they don't look like. Why? Because lokshin are very thin, and they don't look. The Alter Rebbe's words, Shem Dakim Beyoysa, they don't look. Pasta doesn't look. But if it was kreplach is a little thicker, ravioli is not thin, that is hamoitzi. According to the Rabbeinu Tam. Doesn't matter. But it's cheese and it's not sweet stuff.
Even though it's fried.
Yeah. So therefore, the Rabbeinu Tam will hold that it's a moitzi, and therefore Yiddish Shemayim will only eat it in the Suda. If you bake it, it's 100%
pasta, like a lasagna or something.
Well, give me a second. One shitta. So again, one shitta holds that what's special about lokshin is because it doesn't look like bread, but they say if it's not so thin. It's like a ravioli. That's hamoitzi gomer. That's hamoitzi gomer. So what's the macaroni? Ich weiß nicht. But hopefully macaroni is the same like spaghetti. That's what they hold. Again, this opinion is only one of 2 opinions. The Yiddish Shemayim is machmer for that opinion.
And it makes a difference if it's baked or
yeah, it's only if it's cooked. Makes one second.
How is it made anyway?
1 second. Let me say the second opinion.
I'm sorry. Right.
So the second opinion holds that what is the yichus of spaghetti, lokshin? The yichus of spaghetti is that it's cooked. Anything that's cooked, it doesn't. When it comes out of an oven, things look like this. They get crusty. But when they come out of a pot and it's from oil or water, it's moist. It looks different. So that's the shit of the Magen Avraham. There's a kula and a chumra in each shitta. The shitta that holds that we look because pasta is very thin. So there's a kula because it's even if you bake it, if you cook it and then you bake it, the din will stay the same. The poskim say, the Prima Godim says, as brought in Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, that bagels, the way they make bagels is that they first dunk them in a pot of water. Then they take them out and they put it in the oven. So, but it's still hamoitzi. Why is it hamoitzi? Because it doesn't matter that it was in a pot deep with water. Since later it went into the oven, it turns into hamoitzi. Now, according to the Magen Avraham, who says that the yichus of lokshin, what's so special about lokshin? The yichus of lokshin is because it was cooked in a pot. So if you're going to take it out of the pot and then put it in an oven, so it becomes hamoitzi then, according to Parsha, because it's the same like a bagel.
Who does that?
Who does that? People cook lasagna and then they put it in the oven.
Lasagna
What do you
is
have
not
then?
much.
They go goes right from the box to the oven. It doesn't go first into
It's thin. It's thin.
Lasagna goes first in water.
It's like sheets of...
Only ready oven lasagna.
According to the other opinion, you make.
Ready oven
According to the opinion that has to do with the water.
If you bake it, it's hamaitzi.
Again, one opinion holds that the uniqueness of pasta is because it's cooked in water or oil, and the other one holds the kula is because it's very thin. There's a kula and a chumra in each shitta. If you say the milas is very thin, I don't care that you cooked it and then baked it. It's very thin and it stays mezainas forever. But according to the other opinion, that there's a kula, and the other opinion says I don't care that it's as long as it's in water. So therefore I don't care it's thin. It could be ravioli, which is big, but if it's cooked in water, you're makel. So there's a kula and a chumra in each opinion. Okay.
But if it's a ravioli that's baked like a lasagna type thing, that's hamaitzi.
That would be a l'choira moitzi. Yes. So now, before I just want to go into what the Alter Rebbe says in the Siddur. In the Seder B'chsanan, the Alter Rebbe is even more makel in a way. The Seder B'chsanan says like this. He's more makel, but he brings out a few nekudas which bring out the chumra also. Seder B'chsanan, the Alter Rebbe says, B'lila ova, any dough which is a heavy dough that you can knead with your fingers, which is like a pasta dough. Yesh ayimnim she'ena tigum b'machvas metzia metoyres lechem gomu. Varei ze kilo nefes betanu, u'mavorchem elei amoitze b'chas hamozam b'kazayis, v'yeshcholkim ayimnim she'din atigun kedin abishul. So, bottom line, the Alter Rebbe had a moedik chidush in the Siddur. He said that really has nothing to do with chiyuv challah, nothing. He's for sure, it has to be baked. And for something to be, hamoitzi has got to be baked. The only shaila is, what's called baked? The Gemara says, there's a machloikis, Rabbi Yochanan shlokish. The shlokish says baked is in an oven. Rabbi Yochanan says you could bake in a pan if you take a matzah. According to the shlokish, only if it's in an oven. According to Rabbi Yochanan, if you take a frying pan and you gave a little spritz of pan and you put the matzah on it and you go and you fry the matzah, probably it's not kedai to do it at home. It'll turn into chametz before you get the matzah. But theoretically, that's considered baking, and you're yoitza yedei choivas matzah, and it's chayiv b'chala and chayiv b'moitzah. The Yerushalmi says that Rabbi Yochanan said to the Shlokish, moidina locha yedei mashke. I'm moida to you that if a person is going to dump the matzah in a boiling pot of water, I'm moida that you're right. That's not called baking. So the Alter Rebbe holds that the shaila is when Rabbi Yochanan was moed b'mashka, does it mean a lot of mashka or even a little bit of mashka? And that is the shaila, and that's where you have to sometimes be machmir or mekel. The Alter Rebbe says v'chein ikar. Again, let's read it again from the Seder. Blila ova, a heavy dough. There is an opinion that the frying it will not take it away from being a bread. It's as if it was baked in an oven. They say if you fry it, it's like cooking it. And therefore, it's mezainas gomer kamoishi is bar v'chein ikir. The halacha is really that way. Even a little bit of liquid in the pan makes it into mezainas gomer. If you're going to eat and you're satisfied, the Alter Rebbe doesn't say a shir. As long as you feel satisfied. The Torah says v'chalta v'savoto v'erachtas Hashem alakecha. Now it's a sofek deraisa, so you have to be choishish. But still, the halacha really is more to the side of the other opinion. So what should you do? You should wash in real bread and then eat this item.
I'm sorry. In the Art Scroll book, they have on brachas. They say that the minig is something that became minig Yisrael. Is you can be something on that whole concept of they go through the whole lumdis. They say everybody today accepts that they make mezainis on certain items. Is there any validity? Do you see any validity in that?
Minig Yisrael?
Yeah.
I'll show you why I do see it. Yeah.
Like pizza, Lamosha, they say. Pizza is even though there are shilas, the minig became that you make a mezainis on pizza. This is what he says in the book. I'll show you the book. He says,
I sharply disagree.
Okay, but he says, a person wants to, just like here, if you want to be tovel of bracha, a machmir tovel of bracha, But that became minhag Yisrael to make a mezainis.
No, that's absolutely wrong. The fish is not the
Maybe
minhag.
eat pizza.
Every year.
That's a good one.
No.
2 slices, right?
If you only have one slice, maybe not.
I don't want to go into pizza.
He says, and they write there, 2 slices is the maximum,
No.
and you have to have in mind to make a snack. Make it into a snack.
Whoever wrote that is
One
Amo or
says you
State
have to make a mitzvah, to say it's mitzvah.
Rabbi Marlowe said that there is this expression in the Gemara that there's someone that doesn't, there's Amoritz, lo yodamai kama Rebbe. He doesn't know what Rebbe says. He said, Rabbi Marlowe said that today there's a big Amoritz, lo yodamai kama Rebbetzin. He doesn't even know what the Rebbetzin is saying. Not only he doesn't know what Rebbe is saying, he doesn't know. To say such a thing, you have to be lo yodamai kama Rebbetzin. One second. Aval Isa, finish. Aval Isa shen is bashla begdeira. If it was a dough that was cooked in a pot, ein oleh toidas lechem klau. If the dough was cooked in a pot, now the Rebbe changes here. He doesn't say toyer lechem. Ein oleh toidas lechem. Anything that's cooked in a pot, it's not that we have to be makel because it doesn't look like bread. It's nothing because it's cooked. It's not baked, and if it's baked, it's a moitzi, and if it's not baked, it's not a moitzi. So as soon as it's cooked with a lot of water, a lot of oil, it's 100% mezonis. You can eat as much as you want. Gam l'svara rishayna. Therefore, according to Alter Rebbe, donuts, you can eat 100 donuts and mezonis gomer. Umavarchel and beidem in a mezonis amen gimel oilim. Afila bekviya suda. Va'afila chatichas gedoylois. Shekoidim kneidlach or kreplach or donuts. Ach. If you're going to take these same donuts and reheat them in the oven,
So even if you just only want to reheat them,
yeah,
you don't even want to improve them.
Yeah, the pashtus, because that's what the Alter Rebbe is saying.
They're cooked completely.
But you could argue, but they were pashtus. Oy b'machvas b'li. If you're going to later cook them in the oven without mashke, choza v'yored ala toides lechem gomur afilem chetiches ketanes mikazayis. Ah, this is a big chumrah. Even if it's less than a kazayis, you put it in the oven.
A microwave too?
I don't know microwave. But I don't know. It has to be an oven. So then it became toides lechem gomur. Mavarchela moitze bechzamazim bekazayis. Well, the feast var rishayna. Now Alter Rebbe says, what if you're now, after you cooked it, you tigun, according to the first opinion that a tigun with a little bit of mashke is just like afiyah. So then, what happens if you first cooked it, like pasta that you do today, you cook in a pot, you strain it, and then you put it back in the pot and you put in a little bit of sauce, ketchup, sauce, some fancy sauce from a jar. So what happens now? So if you put a lot of sauce, okay, that's from bishul to bishul. From the bishul to bishul is good. Yeah. But if you go from the pot to the frying pan, and now there's a little bit of liquid, you shouldn't eat kedei sviya only in the su'udah. Now, the Badei Shulchan comes and says that the Alter Rebbe is talking about kreplach, but probably he also meant lokshin. So therefore, he comes out with a big chumrah that even if you, so there's an unbelievable kula from the Alter Rebbe. Anything that has a lot of water and a lot of oil becomes mezoinus gomur, and you can eat as much as you want. But as soon as later you put it into the oven, or you put it into a frying pan with a little bit of oil, so it's a shaylev that's considered afiyah, maybe that's baking, even though the halacha is really not that way. Because Rabbi Yochanan says that kol sha'or mahalach tachta vareu kafiyah. And even though he said madin halacha b'mashke means a har b'mashke, but a little bit of mashke is called baking. So if you first cooked it and then you baked it like a bagel. It's like a bagel. So therefore, now it's a suffix if it's mezainas or a moitzi. So you make mezainas, but if you eat kedei svia, which is supper, now you have to wash on a different piece of bread, which is an unbelievable headache. So l'chayda, this is an unbelievable chumrah. And I hear that there are rabbanim based on this Badei Shulchan who hold that they say, lasagna, you can come, it goes in the oven, and so when I said this at home, my wife wouldn't have any of this. She said, "You haksta chainik, you have no idea what you're talking about. I don't care about your lumdus." She said, "That's what my wife said." She said, "There's a lot of liquid. What are you talking about? There's a lot of liquid. You have no idea. You don't understand what's a little liquid and a lot of liquid. There's a lot of liquid. That's bishul gomer. I don't want to hear what you're saying. She told me that I could go back. I'm telling you her words. I don't care about your lumdus. I'm telling you that that lasagna is a lot of liquid. Okay, so I can't argue with my wife. But I could argue on this. But I could argue about something else, which is...
Was it because your wife let you make a mitzvah lasagna?
No, the Alter Rebbe says it's a suffix. You have to make it on the shaila is when you not the first time you make lasagna, you have to take a separate piece of bread. Not the first time you made lasagna. If you reheat it, for example, that's the shaila. But now already there isn't a lot of liquid. Or say lokshen kugel. Even if it's a lokshen kugel is made out of egg noodles, but you want to eat more than kedei kiviyah suda. So I think that it was a mistake from Rabbi Chaim Noah's Agodel B'Yisrael. I can't, but I think it's a mistake. The Alter Rebbe said that if you cook it and then you bake it, it's a shaila, if it's a moitzi. Listen to what I have to say now, because I don't agree with what you said before. That if you cook it and then you bake it, is because Alter Rebbe was talking about kreplach. And kreplach, there's no redeeming factors. Remember before I said there's a machloikis, what's toya lechem. Lokshen, that Rabbeinu Tam says, doesn't look like bread. One opinion says because it's very thin. The other opinion says because it was cooked in water. But in the Siddur, Alter Rebbe doesn't go into it why it doesn't look like bread. He has a bigger chiddush. Anything that's cooked in water is b'chlal not bread. It's not baked. But now you put it in the oven. Now that you put it in the oven or you put it in a pan and there's a little bit of liquid. So we need to go back to the Shulchan Aruch and examine. The Alter Rebbe did bring the Halacha that most poskim hold that if it's very thin and it doesn't look like bread, it doesn't have toyar lechem. It doesn't have toyar lechem. So therefore, if it's ravioli or it's lasagna, I agree that there's a problem. If you're going to put it later in the oven or you're going to put it in a frying pan and there's a little bit of liquid, there's very little bit of liquid, then there's a suffix, and if you're going to eat it as dinner, you have to wash first on a piece of bread. But if there is,
but if you don't put it in the oven, you can even make a lasagna on. You just boil it.
Now, but one second, let me finish. If it's a lot of liquid in the pan now, or even though if you put a little liquid, but it's very thin, like pasta and all these, so therefore, if it's very thin, so then anyway, it's ein by toyar lechem. So even if it's baked, so it'll be kosher. So lemaisa. If any pasta that's cooked and then goes into the frying pan. So bottom line is, most of the time if you put a sauce, I would call that harbe mashkin. It's not, the Alter Rebbe gives an example when you fry with butter as a little bit of mashkin, and he says heavy cream. He says that the way they used to make kreplach, the Alter Rebbe doesn't talk about lokshen. I want to explain a very important thing that I think in this negei la'alocha. That in the Alter Rebbe brings only halachas that were negei in Russia. The Alter Rebbe doesn't talk about lokshen. He only talks about kreplach. He says if you have kreplach, which is ravioli, so if you cook it, it's a mezainis, and if later you fry it in butter, it's a shaila. If you eat it kedei svi, you have to eat it after you make a mitzvah bread. And if you later fry it in heavy cream, that's mezainis gomer because it's a lot of liquid. Why did the Alter Rebbe not talk about pasta? Shulchan Aruch talks about pasta. Why did the Alter Rebbe not talk about pasta? Why? Well, why? Because ravioli is azoi. Kreplach, you take a dough, you can do it in your house, then you take pieces of cheese, chick, then you take a cup, you go like this. I could do it myself. Ania Cotton could do it. You go like this. Maybe it'll be not as fancy the ravioli by here. You go like this.
A lot of times. And then you fold it.
Gandik, that's the ravioli. You don't have to fold it. You go with your finger at the edges like this to make sure the cheese sticks inside, and you're done. Pasta? No. Pasta is nicht the Pasta, you got to make a dough. You have to have it go through a machine. Even
you got to cut it.
Right, you got to cut it, dry it. In Lyoshna, they didn't have the machinery for that. You think in Lyoshna they didn't have any lokshen. Yeah, Rabbeinu Tam lived a couple of hundred years before, had lokshen, because in Europe, in Central Europe, and France, they were a little more advanced than Lyoshna. Even though it was a couple of years, 100 years apart, but they were more advanced. They had the machinery to make lokshen. And the Alter Rebbe didn't talk about lokshen because they didn't have lokshen in Lubavitch and in Liadi and Liozna. So he talks only about kreplach. And he says that kreplach are cooked. So it's mazoinus. Now if you drain the water and you put it in a frying pan, if there is heavy cream, it's mazoinus. If it's butter, now it's a shaila. And if you eat kedei svia, you have to eat it in a meal. But why is he not talking about lokshen? Because no one ate lokshen. But I would say that lokshen still has the kula that it doesn't have toyer lechem. So therefore, if it's pasta, which is the noodles for sure, is mazoinus all the time. Unless it'll be all the time. Even if you make it into your shalmi kugel, you know the spodde kugel. So Rabbi Yashiv Taka says that's not good because it looks like bread. But I don't know. They say that Rav Auerbach disagreed with him, and he said, "Nah, it doesn't look like bread." You see the noodles. Because you see the noodles. So even the spodek kugel, because they're loksh. Now, what do you do with baked zaydi? Or
baked zaydi?
Yeah. Yeah. What do you do with or all these other pastas, macaroni? I don't know. They're a little thin. They're like pasta. Those are all the kula. Those are all the kula.
What about lokshen kugel?
Lokshen kugel also because it's thin. It's thin. But things that are not thin, things that have a little bit like ravioli and the lasagna. So then the first time, if the first time you put it in the oven, then my wife is right. There's a lot of sauce. It's a lot of liquid, and therefore it's mazoinus gomer. But
don't you boil the pasta first and you put it straight in?
Yeah, first you
boil it. You
boil it and then you lay it out and then you put it in the oven.
But you put the sauce in it.
But it's already
still not.
it's like
marinated.
But it's already
okay, I'll just log it.
So you put it in there. But you want to know if you change the state.
And it's interesting. He says what you're saying also.
But it's also not the way to eat.
He says it's better when it's dry. Remember he said the process is to dry it? That's what he says.
Shoshana, yes. Yes, it's a tiger. I hear.
They're very fine rules. He's changing state from one state to another state.
So the final product, everything that's noodles.
But if you reheat it, then it's for sure.
Then it's not for sure. Then it's a shaila. So therefore, you should wash on a piece of bread. But ravioli usually is made. Ravioli is usually made with heavy cream. No one. If they cook ravioli and then then they sort. But that sauce is a lot of mashna. That's not a little bit. That's a lot.
Just boil it and just put it in your plate, and then you're
right.
Put, like,
but even if you if you put it later in the plate, it's no shaila. It's good. But even if later,
you have to eat it only after.
Right. But still, right.
The fact that I mentioned this.
Yeah. So then to make a matzah. As a toya, it depends if it was a lot. Then is another thing. Go from when you cook it, it becomes mazonis. But then if you put it back in the oven, you have a lot of mashke. It's like cooking. Less, no mashke. You bake it. It's the final product.
It probably means that they cooked it, right?
You put it into the oven.
Right. That would be big time mazonis. Why? Because when you take someone just asked a good question. If you take today they have the pasta that's ready to make lasagna. So lanius daiti, that's big time mazonis. Why?
They cooked that already.
No, because in order to cook it now, you have to put a lot of sauce. The old lasagna, you could take it out of the pot, drain it, and put cheese and a little bit of sauce. You can get away with it. But these that you have today, if you're going to put very little bit of liquid, they're never going to come out edible. It's right. In order to be edible, you have to have a lot of liquid. Okay, let me summarize one more time. And now we have another good thing. If it's lasagna, today's lasagna, which is those ones, definitely 100% lasagnas where people have to put a lot of liquid inside. If it's lasagna that is now heated for the second time, for the same price, if it's donuts that's going in the oven, then there's a shaila, serious shaila, and a person's going to eat it for supper, should make a moitz in another bread. But if it's ravioli usually, even if it's later cooked or fried a second time, it's with heavy cream, it's plenty of mashke, so it's l'kula, and all other pastas that are thin, there's a kula that it doesn't have the tzura. No, the toya. But I must let you know that Rabbi Avram Chaim Noah and the Bada Shulchan disagrees, and he holds l'chumra, and he holds that anything, even if it's lokshin, if it goes later in the oven, then it becomes afia, and it's a problem. But I'm trying to be mekel pasha to be miyash of the minig, and I think it's right anyway. One more shaila to make our third shaila for this week. A woman called me up. Rabbi, I had a procedure this week, but the doctor said I'm probably not going to see any blood. But I said, which procedure? Epke, an IUD. So an IUD is a woman that doesn't want to become muberes. They put something inside in the uterus, and it could stay there for many years. It could stay there up to 10 years. And Mamela, she thought that, and the doctor said there was no blood. Mamela, she's tahoida. She was just asking what happens if she has spotting. What should she do if she has spotting? I was surprised that a frum woman could call to ask such a shiloh, but since the shiloh was asked, the answer is that there are more paskins. There are more paskins in Simen Kuf Tzadik Dalet Tziv Beis. Paskins and ein psichas hakeve balodam. Whenever the uterus is opened, you become a nida. It doesn't matter that you see blood or you don't see blood. By definition, if the uterus is opened, then you become a tomei nida. Emitz Hashem, Chazayin L'moed, another time when we have time, about different procedures that could be done and not be done, but the pashtus, without any complications or difficulties or circumstances, anytime there's psichas hakever, their opponent turns into a nida. So therefore, this woman was shocked to know that she has to count 5 days and 7 days, v'chulu v'chulu. If a woman has to do IUD, that's the best time to do it is when she is already besoif yemei nudusa. So otherwise, if you the pashtus, when you put in an IUD, she becomes automatically a nida.
If she's already a nida, then we do it at the end of the process.
Oh, you do it at the end. Yeah, don't.
Yeah.
Or you do it at the beginning.
Don't do it the day after she comes home from mikveh.
Yeah.
But do it when she becomes a nigga, right?
Yeah, you do it at the end of the process.
Do it at the end
for nida.